everyone. I thought I would take an opportunity this evening. It's a little bit cooler. There's no rain in the forecast. So I thought I'd take a walk up to the garden. Things are kind of in transition. We've got a lot of items that have just been planted. We have some items that are petering out. We've got tomatoes that are being picked every day. But I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of show you what's going on before I head back to work and do my full-time teaching thing. So I'm going to get this camera flipped around and I'm going to show you a couple things. I brought my picking basket so that we can harvest while we're up here, and we'll show you what's going on. So here is Lucy. She is doing a heck of a lot better. She wound up at the vet just a few days ago. We found out she had an ear infection. She disappeared from the farm for a couple days, was not doing well, but we are happy she's back. She loves being up here in the garden, so I anticipate that she will be following us around as we take a look at everything. We've got a couple chickens following us as well. We've got a couple brooders inside, so not a whole lot going on here, but I went in with the mower the other day and cut down some of the high grass, so the chickens are really enjoying some of the new areas where they are scraping and pecking and looking for treats this evening. Hopefully we'll have a few more of them. But here we go. So our tomatoes, if you remember earlier this year, I thought that they had picked up some type of fungus. You can see here is some of the end result of what I thought was fungus. In reality, I think what happened was some kind of stress. What that stress is, I'm not sure, but there are a couple different tomato plants that still have this curl going on here. The leaves are very leathery. They're starting to change color now, and some of them are dying off. What I find as I get through the season is these bottom ones start to get more unhealthy, so we might be doing some pruning so that we don't disease the rest of the plant. We are getting tons of these cherry tomatoes in here. I probably have 100 that are picked. They're called giant cherry tomatoes, so they're kind of in between the cherry tomatoes that you would pick up at the store and probably a little bit bigger than a grape tomato. But these have been really great producers. These plants have been started from seed. What I actually do, I'm not big to compete with the critters that we have on the farm, so a lot of these I will be picking tonight. They've got a lot of great color started. But the birds have been coming in, not the chickens, but the wild birds have been coming in, and they have been taking out little bites as soon as these things start to get some blushing, especially with the bigger ones. When you're waiting for some of your favorites to come in and you pick it and it has a peck mark on it, it's never any good. With tomatoes, they actually don't need sunlight to ripen, so they produce ethylene gas, and as long as they are mature, meaning they're not going to grow any larger, you can pick them, sometimes even when they're green, and allow them to ripen inside. That is my preferred method, but even within the people on the farm, if you ask my husband the same thing, I drive him crazy when I come out here and I pick these pinkish colored, almost red colored tomatoes. I just prefer, I have a big folding table at this point set up inside, and I just load it up and I allow them to ripen. This is really fun trying to do this while on camera, but I just clear them up. So these, we use them for salads. I'll chop them up for salsa, but I'm gonna go head through here and clean these out, and we'll move on to the beefsteak. So I probably was able to pick about 3 dozen of those giant cherry tomatoes. They all look pretty good. If you see this one right on the top here, this split, that usually happens from an excessive amount of water, either from you or from rain. I usually give these to the chickens only because this crack here in the skin invites bacteria in. Typically, if I know it's going to rain, the other day they were predicting several inches, I will go through and I will harvest everything I can find that's even remotely close, just to save them from the cracking and the splitting. You'll see it in the larger varieties too. So we've got these giant cherry tomatoes, and we also have beefsteak, which I started from seed. These are much larger. What I've noticed with this variety, it is heirloom. It was grown organically. Let me pull this off here. You can see the bottom of my tomatoes have what they call cat facing, due to a variety of different things. Sometimes it's incomplete pollination, sometimes it's due to soil conditions, but I find that with these heirloom varieties, they are wonderful in flavor, but sometimes they do have, my goodness, it's fighting with me, a lot of these deformities happening. So they are edible. Ooh, they are. Look what I just did. What a sin. I'm trying to record and pull a tomato off at the same time. That will be going to the chickens. But you can see that this one had cat facing as well on the bottom. We do eat them. I cut them off. I will be making some marinara sauce tomorrow before I go back to work, because I do have a whole plate of, or I should say a whole table of tomatoes that I will give to the chickens. I don't actually have many of the beefsteak to pick, but you can see they're coming in really nicely here. You can see all of the tomatoes in general, all of the concern that I had with what I thought was some type of bacteria or fungus, they did not have. So very fortunate to be able to have all of these tomatoes coming in here. If you see, I have a fall crop that I planted. We stuck in some cabbage in the spaces, knowing that when these start petering out, we will start getting some of the items that we've missed from before. You can see here, they've got a lot of growing to do. When I got them from the greenhouse, they actually had cabbage worms on them. So not that you want to buy anything that's infested, but it was just a confirmation that even the professionals have trouble. What I did, I went through and I handpicked all of the worms. I think there was one worm, but there were probably 50 eggs on the underside of these leaves. So I went through, I picked them off. I will be spraying these with neem oil as they get larger, but we're looking forward to getting some green cabbage this fall. So just in my quick glancing here, I know it's kind of full of green. I don't see any other beefsteaks to be picking right now, unless you do. Leave a comment about where I missed one, but I think we've got quite some time. And like I said, just the other day, I went through and cleared these out pretty well, because especially the larger ones, they're susceptible to the cracking when we get that rain. So the once beautiful hoop here is slowly coming to an end. We still have the bees visiting, doing their pollinating. We are still picking cucumbers. So we've got one here. This one will give it a little bit of time. I did see another one somewhere. It's a game sometimes. We'll probably leave these on for a bit. Oh, look above our head here. We've got this big guy here. I've been so fortunate to be able to can, I'll have to go down and count, probably 36 pints of pickles of different kinds. We've done sandwich pickles this year, bread and butter, and the one that we've done the most of is the dill. You can see we do have some picklers here, but because we've had so many, I've been able to share. So a couple of my neighbors and friends have not had the luck with the cucumbers like I have. I still have blossoms coming in. I still have slicing cucumbers. I still have the pickling cucumbers coming in. And so I've been able to share with canners. I've been able to share with friends and relatives and supply them with some of this organic goodness that either they're having trouble producing or they're not gardening, but you know, just trying to spread the love and really share what we have here. So before we go through any more, I'm going to make sure I didn't miss any. Hopefully we'll have a full basket before we're done with this. So let me go through and make sure I didn't miss anything, and we'll move on to the next area. The one thing I forgot to mention, I don't think I'll be picking any more cucumbers tonight. You can see that some of these leaves are discolored. They are really starting to die off as the fruits from the bottom are being picked off. The other thing that I just could not combat successfully this year was powdery mildew, which is a white coating. So if you have any kind of squash or cucumbers or melons, if they got a powdery residue on them, it's called powdery mildew. I was treating it with neem oil again, and it would get better and then it would get worse. Right now, I'm probably close to pulling these. We talked about putting in some pole beans. I have to look at how long they need. You can see I ripped out the yellow squash, the summer yellow squash. Those plants were shot. We got pounds and pounds of it. And I just threw some seeds in, some bean seeds. So we've got Crackle here guarding the beans, following us along. If you are into gardening, if you've been following, going, I'd love to have some of my own stuff, bush beans are probably one of the easiest things to grow. There are not many diseases that they are susceptible to. They don't take up much room. They don't seem to be too particular with water. And I'll actually show you, I have another batch that was planted later this summer. You can see they stay relatively small. They don't need a whole lot of space, and you think there's nothing in there. But when you flip these plants up, you can see right here we have organic yellow beans. So there's also green beans in here. You can see on this plant. This is actually as simple as they are. I've never planted beans to this level before, where multiple successive plantings on them. So it's been a really fun learning experience. I have never planted pole beans, so that's definitely something I want to look into. You can see back here, found another pickler hiding. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to pick the rest of my beans. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss any cucumbers. And so I just got done picking what beans we had there. Probably, I don't know, 6-8 ounces of both green and yellow beans. You can see wherever I had some space, I'm trying to really do this successive planting. For whatever reason, the cats love laying next to the green beans. So these should be ready in just a couple weeks. Say hi, Lucy. Nope, she's not going to say hi. But what I do want to do is get rid of this botched tomato and give it to the chickens. Maybe they'll be interested. Maybe they won't. So let's give this to them before I forget and make some space for everything else we have coming. So there's some interest. Hopefully they can enjoy that. I'll get the other half here. So disappointed. These are making such good sandwiches for us. But knowing that the chickens are also getting organic food, whether it's damaged, defective, I'll give them this split one too. Where'd that go? Right here. We're eating their eggs, so the more stuff that we're giving them, the better. So as these ladies snack, we're gonna head to the next area, take our picking basket here, go on our picking adventure. Let's see what we have here. We have our milkweed that is bringing the lovely monarchs. I found eggs, we've seen butterflies. The other thing I've learned as a gardener who is always learning is that milkweed also attracts aphids. Not fun. They can actually kill the plant. They can kill the stuff that you're growing as well. So learning as we go. But you can see in this row here next to the tomatoes, we've got our jalapenos in here. We've got tons of jalapenos. I'm one to pick when they're smaller. My husband keeps telling me to pick them when they're a little larger. So we're doing some compromising. I don't know. I think this one would be ready to pick, in my opinion. So you can see they're a decent size. I think I could make a popper out of those. I could do some of my cowboy candy. Maybe this one. It's hard because there's a lot of greenery in here. And really there is no right or wrong. We've got tons of plants here. We've got tons to pick. We'll throw those in the basket. I'll go through in just a moment and pick the rest of those. I am growing cayenne peppers. They are so, so pretty. So if you look at these pops of red in here, this is what they use to dry to make the flakes to put on your pizza. This is also what they make some types of hot sauces out of. But it looks like, oops, that one needed a little bit more. It looks like they are really starting to come in, and we've got a pile of them inside. I will try dehydrating some. I would also like to do some sauce. The other types of peppers that we have down here are, we have banana peppers. They seem to be slowing down a bit. I was picking them pretty heavily. We don't have a whole lot. I'm going to go through again in a moment. We're finally starting to get some bell peppers. Have not picked a single bell pepper, but you can see that even on this plant we have two that are just in eyesight, and we've got lots and lots to go through and pick here. Down on the end, something I've wanted to do for a couple of weeks is take this stevia and make something out of it. I'd love to make some stevia extract, but it's a process that will require me to dry this and then do some additional things to get the flavor out of that so that we have some homemade stevia syrup. So let me go through here. Let me get these peppers taken care of. So before I turn, I found one of my banana pepper plants that's really showing all that it has to offer. I'm not going to pick any of these yet. You can see I wait till they get just a little bit bigger. These are rather small, but it looks like in the next couple of days to a week, we're gonna have lots more banana peppers that we'll be able to use for salsa. If I turn around, this is probably the biggest disappointment. We love Brussels sprouts, love. And these were absolutely decimated. They were beautiful plants. They were decimated by the cabbage worm. They call them loopers. Just shredding the leaves. They got down to the Brussels sprouts. My hope is we've got some plants that are a little bit farther behind. It doesn't look as though they were affected as much. I've been spraying these, really hoping that we'll be able to salvage some, but you can't win everything, and this has definitely been a learning year for us. Not perfect by any means, but we'll see where it goes, and next year maybe we'll plant again, maybe we won't. We've got a few more things here. The basket's getting full of all wonderful colors. Planted these from seeds. Here is that powdery mildew I was talking about. Again, I am spraying these every week or so, fighting a losing battle. It's going to be interesting to try and show you what's growing in here, see if there's anything ready. It's just dense, dense leaves. There are green squash in here. Might be difficult for me to actually find holding the phone, but I'll see if I can pick some. Right next door, we have our, let's see if we can find it. Ooh, all the way over here, we have our Black Beauty, there we go, Black Beauty eggplant. So we're gonna let that go for a little bit and let it do its thing. These are the plants where I encountered my first two hornworms. I'm a bit traumatized, but if you're a gardener, you do what you have to do. Call your husband and tell him to bring his gloves to remove, which we both ended up doing. Lucy just clawed the back of me, trying to get my attention. She did this the last time I filmed up here. I think she knows that she's not getting the attention that she wants, and was just letting me know. So I will get in here, see if I can find any zucchini that might be ready, and be back. Unfortunately, I was not able to find any green zucchini. Prolific leaves out and about. I'm wondering if it's affecting the pollination inside, because we did not have this issue. We were picking a yellow squash a day from our other plants. Either these are a little bit slower growing, or they have an issue that's slowing them down. I'm actually going to be pulling several of these. We don't have any more. They're starting to die off on the tops, which means they're done growing. Really proud. I've never grown onions before, and I would say these are a pretty good size. Not much more to say. We used the last couple in our batch of salsa. Hopefully we don't get our basket too dirty here. That one's rather green yet. This guy, I don't want him to rot. Not quite as big, but let's get some of this dirt off here. And we're gonna let those dry a bit and form the outside. So this patch, we'll get probably about 8 of the 12 onions that we planted. I would like to grow a whole row next year, just seeing how beautiful they are. I mean, my post before was I grew onions and they look just like the ones at the store, except I started these from seed. I know what was sprayed on them, I know what went into them, and I really don't want to have it any other way. And this is something that if you have a cooler area in your house, like your basement, you can store these for a long period of time through the winter. Next, we have unknown crop. So my aunt, who is also a gardener, stopped at the greenhouse. She bought me these, and they didn't have a tag. So my best guess, looking at the leaves, is that we have either broccoli or we have cauliflower. We got a little bit of broccoli this year. We got no cauliflower. So I actually am hoping that this is broccoli. We prefer it over the cauliflower. We have a few more cabbage plants down here, and over there we have some kale that we hope to harvest soon. We've got a few more beets down here. These don't look as pretty as the last ones, but I am getting ready. As soon as I know that the weather is clear, we will be planting again. We love beets. We love beet tops, and the colors are magnificent. Make some Harvard beets and you'll never see a brighter maroon red sauce than when you use these guys. So we'll put that in our basket. Nothing much to say about the asparagus. We'll wait till it dies down, we'll cut it down, and we'll wait until next season. Our last row here, we've got the milkweed. This one had a bunch of monarch eggs. One thing very disappointing. Look at this, I have to come back here. All of those little yellow squirmy things are aphids. I gotta get them off. I can squish them, I can hose them, but they will actually kill this plant. And I don't want any parts of that, because this plant has brought such beauty up to the garden. This mess of a patch, so thankful. These were our volunteer plants, so they were not spaced accordingly. We left them grow to find out what we would have. And we've got these pear-shaped, Roma-shaped tomatoes in here. But you can see it is difficult. If you are not spacing your tomatoes out, it is difficult to pick. It is difficult to maintain. I would say in general, these leaves, because they are not getting the circulation, they're a lot more diseased than the other plants, and you end up with fruits that fall off and rot or get smushed like this guy. I don't know if I can get this one out here. He is absolutely stuck in here. There we go. He might be a good one. We've got a couple down here. Not too bad, but this is not my preferred way of growing things, but it's been fun to see what we have. And actually, of all the tomatoes we have, these will probably be the best ones for canning this season. So we're gonna keep picking. We're gonna hope that, don't you eat that crackle. We're gonna hope that we get lots more of these before they get too diseased. And my goodness, our little tiny berry crop. We barely have any here. It's hard to do it with one hand, but oh, there's a nice one in here. Let me grab that. These are the bushes that we cut down to the ground last year, and they had some trouble. So we're gonna have to wait until next year. We divvy out what we have between my husband and I. My daughters will have to patiently wait until next year to get anything. But we have something. So I got two. We'll add it to our yogurt, or I'll just eat it for snack tonight. So the sun starting to go down. They say that the sun will set, I believe, before 8 o'clock tonight. The chickens are out and happy. I'm happy. We've got a almost full picking basket with a variety of different things. Peppers, tomatoes, don't forget those 2 berries. So I'm gonna head inside, get these items washed up, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us. Spread the love.